Sakafet people, welcome back to the channel. Run off the fade. Today I got a video impromptu, not really prepared for this as a lot of the news type videos that I make. I'm usually not planned. I just decide to make it because something caught my eye, right? Today we're talking about something that's interesting because of the timing of it, especially for me, right? Just 2 days ago, as I'm recording this, I made the first and only Soulcalibur video that I've posted on this channel. Soulcalibur, I'm a big Soulcalibur fan. I've been playing Soulcalibur 6, but never posted it on the channel because at this point, right, as we all know, Soulcalibur 6 is about as close to being dead as you can realistically say without the game being dead. Like, right, you can have your opinions on what constitutes a dead game, right? As long as somebody's playing the game's alive is what some people look at it, right? But Soulcalibur 6, in terms of being alive within the community, is as close to dead as you can really get, like I said. But I kind of had an itch to play some Soulcalibur. Posted a Soulcalibur video just a couple days ago, and I'll show you this tweet I made just a few days before that. And I rarely even tweet, but go ahead and follow me on Twitter as well. Yeah, I rarely even tweet, but I threw out this tweet which is basically expressing my desire for Soulcalibur 7, right? And if you'd asked me anything about Soulcalibur 7 in this previous, like before, like a week ago, if you asked me a week ago about Soulcalibur 7, maybe 2 weeks ago, my view on it would have been completely different. Because like I would have told you Soulcalibur is basically like just off, real low chance of Soulcalibur 7 coming and just Soulcalibur almost being a dead franchise. But now I have a slightly different view on it, and the reason a lot of people are talking about Soulcalibur 7 now is because Bandai have recently posted a job opening for a new fighting game. Now, I want to go ahead, before we even dive any deeper into this, I want to go ahead and say this whole video, a lot of the talk on Soulcalibur 7, you could definitely say it's a bunch of copium. You could say it's wishful thinking. It definitely is wishful thinking because, you know, nothing in this, there's nothing to suggest that this has to be Soulcalibur or Soulcalibur is coming anytime soon, right? But the one thing I will say is the early stages always it always starts like this, right? When momentum and news breaks of new games, it always kind of starts like this. I remember Virtua Fighter 6. I mean, Virtua Fighter 6 was discussed for years and years before we actually got this recent announcement and reveal, right? But it always starts like this, a little job post in here. Hey, new fighting game. Sega in an annual meeting, just mentioning old, an old series that might come back. It always starts like this. And speaking of those games, like we are in, I've spoke about the fighting game revolution so many times on this channel, right? And we're in it now. Like before, when Street Fighter 6 was announced and Tekken 8 was announced and all these new games was announced, we spoke about the fighting game revolution coming and prime time to be a fighting game player, yeah? And we're in it now. Like Street Fighter's been out for what, 3 years now? Tekken, we're getting into, well, we're in the second year, we're getting into season 3 now, right? We're in this fighting game revolution. And within this, we're seeing old fighting games being revived. We've seen, like I say, Virtua Fighter 6 is announced and it looks amazing, right? We've just had an announcement for Dead or Alive 7 and like a new version of Dead or Alive 6 leading up to Dead or Alive 7. I think it's Dead or Alive 7. I don't really have any stock in Dead or Alive, but again, another fighting game franchise that was kind of on ice. It was looking like it was dead. And now it's being revived. We've obviously seen Fatal Fury coming back. We've seen, I mean, not really coming back, but we've got Guilty Gear still going strong. We've got so many fighting games. And fighting games that we thought, would be on ice for a while, looking like they're coming back. And if I'm being honest with you, Soulcalibur, it's the perfect time to bring Soulcalibur back. But anyway, back to this job posting. New fighting game being posted by Bandai, and obviously the reason why I say like hope and copium is like this could be anything. Like Bandai drop fighting games like hotcakes, right? Like especially like this could just be any any old arena fighter. You know Bandai love to drop their arena fighters. This could just be a new One Punch Man game that comes out, survives for 3 weeks, and then disappears, right? Like, I wanted to jump in on that Demon Slayer too, because I'm not gonna lie to you, the game is clean, but like, again, died within a month, if that, barely survived a month. But you know what I'm saying, Bandai love to drop these arena fighters left, right, and center. It could be nothing to do with Soulcalibur, but it also could be Soulcalibur. And another few reasons why people are saying it could be Soulcalibur, one of the main reasons is if you dive a little bit deeper, and I haven't dove any deeper at all myself, but other people have, and what they're finding, like some of the things in this, in the posting, is mentionings of like looking for workers who have experience in customization, for example, character customization. We all know that when it comes to character customization within fighting games, Soulcalibur is the big dog. Soulcalibur is that guy when it comes to character customization. Like, even if we're just talking about apparel and being able to switch up fits and customize fits and stuff, Soulcalibur does it better than any game that is out there, right? And then you dive deeper, and Soulcalibur even lets you create your own character. From you seeing people create reptiles, and you know, you can even customize original characters and change their skin tone completely. You can make Sophatia a black woman, and right, you can do so much. So customization is obviously a big factor in Soulcalibur. So the fact that they're highlighting things like this, again, leads to maybe Soulcalibur. But again, we've seen games like Jump Force. Jump Force had character customization. So even again, these arena fighters, it could just be one of these. These have character customization, not on such a big scale, but to focus on stuff like that, making people think Soulcalibur might be on the table. Another thing was a mention. I don't know the details of this type of stuff, but a mentioning of a company that I believe work in like netcode and stuff. And again, that's something like we already know. Like when these arena fighter games drop and these lower budget games, I guess, drop, they don't really focus too much on stuff. They usually have bad netcode and all that type of stuff. If they were to make Soulcalibur 7, things like netcode and rollback would be so important to making that game a success. And I feel like if they did go in on Soulcalibur 7, they would have to go hard. They'd have to make sure that they don't make certain mistakes that they made on a Soulcalibur 6, for example, so that this game succeeds. Because there's certain things, you know, I remember, and this is another reason why I thought Soulcalibur 7 was kind of just lost hope. And I remember during the rollout and the marketing campaigns of Soulcalibur 6, they pretty much verbatim, like they explicitly, they didn't pull their punches and sugarcoat it at all in saying that if Soulcalibur 6 wasn't a success, like the franchise was done, basically. Like again, like maybe not word for word, but I remember them being very clear on that. Like if Soulcalibur 6 didn't hit home, people can pretty much kiss goodbye to the Soulcalibur franchise. And it would be easy to look at where we are now. Like I said, the game is pretty much dead to an extent, right? It'd be easy to look at it now and say, okay, well, the game wasn't a success, you know, Soulcalibur's done. But realistically, Soulcalibur actually was a success. Soulcalibur done really well. Now, obviously, again, maybe in modern standards where, you know, a lot of fighting games are expected to just be supported for forever almost, until literally the next game comes out. For Soulcalibur, I think Soulcalibur sold 2 million copies by, I think it was 2021. I think it was, the game came out 2018, I believe. And I think it was by about 2021, 2 million copies sold. Now listen, Soulcalibur is one of the most beloved franchises in the FGC. It's not on the level of Tekken, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat, for example, but it's definitely the next tier where you have the Virtual Fighters again, you have the Fatal Furies, and you have Soulcalibur, right? You have these type of games right below those ones, especially for like people who grew up with this. For the older heads and the casuals, they love Soulcalibur, right? I forgot what point I was even on. Soulcalibur, so what I was saying, like Soulcalibur's not on the level of like obviously a Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken. For Soulcalibur, 2 million copies sold in 3 years is pretty good, especially again considering the reception on Soulcalibur 6 was very mixed, especially for the FGC, the more hardcore players. It was very like Reversal Edge not received well, a lot of like Soul Charge, and it's funny because a lot of the stuff people didn't like about Soulcalibur is exactly what they put into Tekken 8 and what people don't like about Tekken 8, right? Like Heat Burst. Heat Burst is Soul Charge. We didn't like Soul Charge, so they took it and they put it in Tekken. Anyway, we ain't getting into that, right? But yeah, so the reception was a bit mixed, and for it to still sell as well as it did, I mean, to put it into context, like Guilty Gear, which is the highest, Guilty Gear Strive, which is the highest selling Guilty Gear game, I think has sold 3 million around there. It's probably a bit more at this point, but you know, it's been out now longer than the 3 years that we're measuring Soulcalibur. At this point, Soulcalibur probably sold more than that, 2 million. Only had two season passes, I think. But anyway, the point is, if they go all in, I would expect them to go all in on Soulcalibur 7, knowing that they're already taking a risk bringing it back. It's already taken a bit of a gamble bringing it back, and the 6 was not received as well as it could have been. I feel like they would go all out in making sure that, especially for the Soulcalibur hardcores, it gives people more or less what they want. Obviously, it's going to be, you know, modernized. And when I say modernized, I mean dumbed down and giving us, you know, which all fighting games do now, where it's just, you know, it's, you know what I'm getting at. But obviously, it's going to have that type of stuff. But I expect if it does ever come out, that, you know, they take a full swing on this game rather than half a bite of the cherry. But yeah, that's kind of where we are. One thing is mentioned in the post for also people who have experience working on NPCs, and that's where I'm kind of like, maybe it is another one of those arena fighter games, because NPCs is not really something you associate with Soulcalibur. But at the same time, Virtua Fighter, right? So Sega have been making it kind of known that they're trying to come back and push the fighting game genre forward and kind of revolutionize. Virtua Fighter kind of known for revolutionizing the fighting game genre. And how clean and poetic would it be for Virtua Fighter 6 to drop and again revolutionize fighting games, right? But they're talking about revolution, and it seems to me like I wouldn't be surprised if not necessarily like open world, but if they were trying to push more in terms of the product side of fighting games. A lot of people talk about the product side of fighting games and how fighting games, I mean, obviously we had that like controversial, what do we even call it? Like, just call it a post. Someone made a post, like a journalist, about how fighting games are not good products. So there's a lot of talk about that always. And I think Virtua Fighter, like, in terms of making, again, not necessarily open world, but more single player modes that kind of keep people going, more RPG elements. And Soulcalibur, like, Soulcalibur obviously has like Soul Chronicles and all of that. Like, Soulcalibur was always pretty good with single player modes. I wouldn't be surprised if they turned Soul Chronicles into the type of mode where you do have NPCs and all that type of stuff. It's just a thought, but that's like, there's not too much to go on about this. That's almost it. There's not much to go by. But like I said, it always kind of starts like this before it eventually turns into a little bit more. The leaks turn into more leaks, and then it's, you know, keep your eyes open is basically what I want to say about Soulcalibur. And the potential for Soulcalibur 7. Listen, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Just know that if there is any news going for Soulcalibur 7, just know that I'ma be on it. I'ma be keeping my eyes wide open on this. Let me know what you guys think. Is there any potential for Soulcalibur 7 to be the game that is being worked on, the new Bandai fighting game? I don't know if there's anything else that I wanted to go over, really. Like I said, I didn't really plan this video. Tekken 8 Season 3 dropping tomorrow. I will be streaming when it drops. I'm going to be going over all of the patch notes from top to bottom, every character. I'm going to be looking at every change. So come drop by and we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll see what's changed. But until then, I'll catch you on the next video. Have a good one. Peace.